Back again. It is week 11. The Packers 5-3-1. Coming off a loss against the Eagles. Did not look great on Monday Night Football. But now they're heading out to New York, to the East Coast, to face off against the Giants. The Giants are having a tough season. I forgot to look and see what their record was. Dang it. I wanted to have that ready. Let's see what they did. So they lost week 1 against the Commanders. Then they lost to the Cowboys and the Chiefs. They beat the Chargers and the Eagles. So they did beat the Eagles. So they're 2-1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2-8, which is why Brian Daboll, their head coach, got fired. The Packers should be able to capitalize on this team and the way things are going for the Giants. Jackson Dart did look really good against the Bears. The Giants probably would have beat the Bears. They lost 24-20, last minute touchdown by Caleb Williams. But if Jackson Dart did not get knocked out of the game with a concussion, he probably would have won that game for the Giants. Russell Wilson came in and just sucked. I mean, I guess he did have 2 passes for like 45 yards, so it wasn't too bad. But when they really needed him to do something at the end, he just couldn't do anything. But for Green Bay, it comes down to, can we get back to how we were playing on offense earlier in the season in that second half against the Steelers, against a really good defense. Obviously, the NFL is a over exaggerate things league, overhype things when things are good and over scrutinize things when things are bad. For Green Bay right now, 2 losses in a row at Lambeau Field. First against the Panthers, who they should have beat, and then the Eagles, who they played good against. Defense played good, and the offense struggled mightily. But really, against the Giants, it comes down to, will Jackson Dart play? They're going to have a new coach against the Packers, so we'll see who their interim is. I'm not sure who they are replacing Daboll with right now. Probably somebody on their staff already. Just going to promote them for now. Something I think the Packers might do if they keep these losing ways, elevate Hafley, get rid of Matt LaFleur, but we'll see. I really am still high on Matt LaFleur. I want to just see what he can kind of do here, see how he rebounds. Really didn't like his answers in the presser. Really didn't like how he answered during the game when it really mattered. Picking the inside zone. That's like me and Madden when I'm going up against my kid. I just keep running the same play up the middle. But you can't do that in the NFL, especially if the defense is calling out the play. There's been very few times in NFL history where I've seen the defense actually call out the exact play that's being called. The offense still run the play right into it. And, yeah, we all know what happened. But Jordan Love said that Jacobs should have went left on that play, and he didn't. He should have. And then after watching the video, it looks like he maybe could have. But either way, it was a penalty on the play. Wouldn't have counted anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, back to this week, week 11 against the Giants. If Jackson Dart goes, he's going to be tough. He runs well. He passes pretty well. The offense was clicking with him out there. The running game with Tracy also going because Dart kind of opens things up. But Dart, I think this is his 4th concussion in 7 games is what I saw. So not a great start to his NFL season. A guy that, is very athletic, very talented, but if he's injured and off the field, he's not going to be very productive. Daboll kept running all these design runs for him, and then it kept getting him knocked out. I know Daboll was coaching for his job. A guy that was coach of the year a few years ago, a guy that's beaten the Packers a few times in London. I remember also when we had Aaron Rodgers. So for Green Bay, getting right against this Giant team is going to be important. Like I said, Jackson Dart, if he goes, it'll be a good game. With Russell Wilson out there, could be a little bit different. We'll see what Wilson can do. He's really struggled against every other team he's played against the last 3 seasons, on Denver, on the Steelers, and on the Giants. So the Packers should be able to beat them if Russell Wilson plays. Hopefully the Packers don't go out there and make Russell Wilson look like the second coming of Tom Brady, which they kind of tend to do against these teams that aren't as good. They kind of elevate them and make it a game, which it shouldn't be, like what happened against the Panthers and, obviously the Browns. So for Green Bay, can we get after the quarterback? It's been 2 weeks now of not really being very productive. We did get to Aaron Rodgers 3 times, but then we didn't get to Bryce Young very much, and then we didn't get to, I think we got 1 against Bryce Young. It was Xavier McKinney with the strip sack, and then against Jalen Hurts, we didn't get any sacks. So Packer, we did get a strip on him, but we didn't get any sacks. So, with Jackson Dart back there, we should be able to get some pressure on him. I think Wilson the same way. I think that if the Giants were to put in Jameis Winston, though, as quarterback, it might be a shootout with Green Bay. Wilson, I think, keeps the game close. Not saying that if Winston plays, the Giants are going to beat us by any stretch, but I think that Winston just kind of opens up that offense a little bit more than Wilson is able to. So then at running back, you got Tyrone Tracy, pretty good running back, and then Devin Singletary kind of spells him, a guy that's been around the league for a while. A guy that's pretty quick and can catch out of the backfield. Then at receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson's been playing well this year. Darius Slayton's been playing well this year. And then they have, Malik Neighbors on IR, so their big play threat's not there anymore. They do have Jalen Hyatt, the speedster from Tennessee, whose NFL career has not really translated the way he thought it was, but another guy that they can go deep to. And then Theo Johnson. He had 7 catches, like 77 yards last week before Dart went out. He's a big play tight end. He's a guy that can really do it all, catch passes, block. So watch for him to have a decent day. And then obviously at their offensive line, the Giants do have some good players at different positions. Their defense is a little more stacked than the offense. Not a lot of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson being the guys, and those guys aren't really top name threats. But on offensive line, left tackle Andrew Thomas, a fixture on the left side. He's been there for a long time. Really a solid offensive lineman, probably their best offensive lineman. Then they have 2 Packers at guard positions. John Runyan Jr. and then Greg Van Roten. Both of them are playing guards. If we had one of them, we could have put Jenkins at the other guard, or maybe move one of these guys. Never mind. My whole thing is now we have too many guards. So anyway, Van Roten and I think no, I don't think Runyan played center, but Van Roten I think played center. So we could have thrown him at center and then left Elkin Jenkins at guard. But anyway, Jenkins out for a few weeks now, at least 4 weeks with a fractured lower leg. Bummer to see. We'll get to that when we get to the offensive side of the ball for the Packers. But John Runyan Jr. at guard and Greg Van Roten at guard for the Giants. 2 guys were on the Packers a couple years ago. And then on the right side, they have Elemenor at the right tackle position. So the offensive line, pretty solid. Obviously it's going to come down to can they give time to Dart if he is out there, and then Russell Wilson, who's a guy that just doesn't seem like he's really capable of being a starting quarterback in this league anymore. So when the Packers are on defense against this offense, though, I look for, Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons. Obviously, both of them have to start getting home again. Parsons had more pressures than the whole team combined for the Packers at one time. They showed the stat. It was like 5 for Parsons, 1 for the rest of the team. So we need to get some more pressure on the quarterback for sure, make them make some errant throws. Just not a lot of turnovers, not a lot of anything for this Packers defense. They played well, they were tough, they didn't give up a lot of big plays. That one set of passes to Smith, the one before the touchdown and then the touchdown. So, but for the Packers, can we get pressure back on them? Devontae Wyatt back in the middle, that's been really good to see. He made a big play for a loss of like 5 on a run. And then Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks both playing well inside. We played super good against the Eagles' run defense run offense, the rushing attack of Saquon and Tank and Jalen after they just went crazy the 2 weeks before the bye. And so for the Packers, kind of build on that on defense, really shut this Giants offense down. I think the Packers defense can shut this Giants offense down. It's just going to be up to the Packers offense now to score some points, actually, which I didn't think we'd struggle with. And then obviously losing Kraft, having Jaden Reed go out, having Watson come back late, then having Wicks go out. Now Dobbs is out. So there's a lot of just, inconsistency. These guys are young. We still have the youngest team in the league. And I just hope that we can kind of get it back together before they fire Matt LaFleur. I don't think it's all his fault, but he does have to put the guys in position to make the plays, and it just hasn't been clicking like it should. So then in the middle, I really love what I've been seeing out of Edgerrin Cooper. He punched the ball out of Jalen Hurts, got the forced fumble last week. Quay Walker also playing really tough in the middle. There's some games where they just seem like they're flying around a lot more than other games, and I just want to keep that consistency in every single game. Against the Lions that first week, it was like the defense was just everywhere all the time. Everybody was running to the ball. Cooper and Quay were just everywhere, and then some of that just fizzled. And I know it's hard to keep up with that every week in and week out, but they need to have a little bit more consistency on both sides of the ball, but especially with how their defense kind of flows to the ball and how they, the energy level and stuff that they play with. So then on the back end, Xavier McKinney is playing well. I kind of got dragged in on that deep shot to Smith and left Evan Williams one-on-one with the wide receiver without anybody bumping him at the line. So he just had a straight shot one-on-one with the safety, and that's tough when some guy's running full speed at you and you don't know which way he's breaking. Evan played it well, but just not enough. So need to see more out of X. Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon both stepped it up this week, played pretty well. Nixon did get beat on that long 3rd and 12 play. Would like to have that one back. But Valentine really playing tough. His confidence is getting up there. He's not afraid to get at guys and, definitely show them how he feels about the play he made after he's done. So I like that kind of tenacity out of him. Need to see some more out of Javon Bullard. Haven't really seen him do much in the last few weeks. And then, like I said, Evan Williams playing well, but just need to see a little bit more out of him. And then Nate Hobbs, he was out, a guy the Packers got in the offseason, paid a lot of money to, has struggled, and then was injured against the Eagles. So we'll see if he comes back for the Giants. But, there's not a lot of big play threats on this Giants offense. So I think that this defense can get after him, whether it's Jackson Dart running the ball or Russell Wilson scrambling for his life. I think the Packers defense should be able to get after the Giants, get some sacks, force some turnovers, get back to Packer football, and get ready for this 3-game stretch. Vikings, Lions, Bears, oh my, coming up after this week against the Giants, week 11. So Packers, on the offensive side of the ball, need to get things going. Matt LaFleur calling the inside zone over and over again. The defense calling out the play. Going forward on 4th and 9, which are like, what the heck? And then just, when you do have a big play, you have the guys lined up wrong. You bring in a cornerback, and then he drops the ball, and then he lines up wrong on a big play. Just a lot of weird coaching decisions, play calling, and then clock management at the end of the half, at the end of the game. Just not, I don't understand. And then to put McManus out there for a 65-yard kick, the guy had never had a chance to make that. Even the one where he had no pressure and got to line up and kick it, and when everybody was freaking out, he still was short, and that's like his longest. So to even try a 65-yarder with him, kind of ridiculous. Should have just Hail Married it. Better percentages, I think, than having a guy that doesn't have a 65-yard leg try kicking a 65-yard field goal. So maybe if McManus keeps having his struggles, they'll cut him. They did pay him a lot of money, but Luke Haverstick has the Packer record, so we'll see what happens. But Jordan Love and this Packer offense with Matt LaFleur have to kind of get things back going. Josh Jacobs played well, ran well. That 4th and 1, he should have went left. He said he saw the guy kind of come in, so he went right, but he ran right into the defense. It looks like if he went left, he would have maybe had a spot. But again, there was a flag on the play. Didn't matter. And then, just the other calls that LaFleur's been having, just not really putting our players in the best position to win the game and to make big plays. So, and then, just at the end of the half, we were trying to get down the field, and we don't have a lot of timeouts left or a lot of time left, and he's still trying to throw passes. It was almost like, okay, at that time, when the game's been going the way it has, it's time to just pack it in and run the ball. But anyway, so for the Packers, can we get something going against this Giants defense? Jordan Love, no injuries this year, a lot of up and down games. I look for him to just get back to being consistent. If that means running the ball, play action, keep it simple, then do that. But obviously not having Dobbs out there. Hopefully, Wicks played okay, but hopefully get Golden back, which would be great, and then Reed soon. So I think this offense can still start clicking, but hopefully we don't get too far out of the division before that, win this game against the Giants. But can Jordan Love get back to his consistency? Can he start making plays again? He didn't have any interceptions, but he did have that weird flutter fumble toss thing he tried to do. So I just think that there's a lot that he can clean up. Get Josh Jacobs the ball. Emmanuel Wilson, try to get him going. Just haven't seen a lot of production out of the backup running backs, Chris Brooks or Emmanuel Wilson. Wilson did have one good game where he outrushed Jacobs, but Jacobs really the workhorse. And then, for the Packers, getting Luke Musgraves involved, getting the tight end involved. He did play a little bit. He had a few grabs. He played well, but just not as productive as Tucker Kraft, not the threat that Tucker Kraft is after the catch, obviously. You get Kraft the ball, and he's basically going to score. So Packers have to figure out what they can do with Luke Musgraves. But I do like what he brings to the table. 6'6", has speed. We just got to get him in some open field, get him some space, and let him go. He did draw that pass interference penalty at the end of the game to kind of put us in position, so that was big to score the touchdown. So he did set that up, but just want to see him continue to develop. He's a guy that can really start making plays for us. So then at offensive line, here it gets tricky. So right tackle, Zach Tom, he played oblique injury, back injuries. He was good to go. Then right guard was Jordan Morgan starting the game over Sean Ryan. Morgan's been playing okay there. Then Elkin Jenkins at center. He did break his fractured his lower leg. So he'll be out for at least 4 weeks, probably more than that. Sean Ryan came in at center, played okay. Aaron Banks at right guard. He's been playing okay, but he's the one that went early on the quarterback sneak that made us have to punt in the first half. And it's crazy because we all saw the Eagles jump early, and then they said that we did it. We jumped early, but we didn't really jump early. We just said hike before the defense got set because we didn't substitute. Troy Aikman's annoying. But anyway, then they called the false start on us when we jumped early on our quarterback sneak. So just frustrating the way that games are officiated, the way that tush push is looked at, and then Aaron Banks, just making that mistake there. So this offensive line has had moments of being great and then a lot of inconsistency. The first few games, they were just like a wall. It was like a stone wall. And now it's just, things are not developing for the receivers the way it should. And then that's giving the offensive line more time to block. And then Jordan Love panics. And I don't know why he always panics. He needs to keep his eyes downfield. He missed a few crossers when he stepped up, get his eyes down. If he would have had his eyes up, he could have let it rip. So a lot to clean up there. But if the offensive line can kind of get back to their stonewall ways, then this offense can start moving again, clicking on all cylinders. And like I said, once we get Jaden Reed back, Golden back, Dobbs gets healthy, I think we can start going again. Watson's just, coming back from injury a few weeks ago. So I think there's still enough time. If we can win this Giants game, we can kind of regroup, get set up for the 3 division games in a row, and then see what we can do. We got to win at least 2 out of those 3 division games to keep us in the hunt and to have a chance. Hopefully we can beat the Lions on Thanksgiving and at least the Bears. But that means we're going to win all 3 because we should be able to beat the Vikings too because they're just not that good this year. So for the Packers, can we get something going on offense against this tough Giants defense, who the Giants defense definitely has more named players than their offense. They have big Dexter Lawrence in the middle, a guy who I've liked for many years. And then Brian Burns on the outside, who is a really, really good, edge rusher, basically. And then Bobby Okereke, who's a middle linebacker that just gets everywhere. He's a guy that's got speed and can tackle really well. And then, obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau, their elite pass rusher. I know they brought Brian Burns in, so they really do have 2 guys off the edge. I don't think they're as good as a pair as Gary and Parsons. Obviously, Parsons just is so great. But what Burns and Thibodeau bring to this Giants defense is definitely a pass rush that is better than good. Maybe not elite, but it is definitely great, especially with Dexter Lawrence in the middle pushing the pocket forward. Kind of gives those guys on the outside time to get there without anywhere for the quarterback to step up. So Packers offensive line definitely have their work cut out for them this week against this tough Giants front 7. And a linebacker, like I said, Okereke just kind of roams the middle there and is really a tough guy to get around and just, make sure you gotta make sure you know where he is on every play. He's kind of like their Adrian Cooper, a guy that just flies around to the ball. And then in the back end, they have a guy that I really liked coming out of college, Javon Holland, but then and Tyler Newman, safeties, who I liked a lot coming out. Kind of wanted the Packers to get one of those guys. But the Giants got them, and then on the outside, not big play corners. Who do they got? They have Flott, they have Banks, and they have Adebo, who I do like, but he's questionable. So we'll see if he can go. But on the back end, the Packers should be able to throw the ball against these guys if they can give Jordan Love time to throw it, time to read, and make the throws downfield. It's just going to be tough with the pressure up front and the way this offensive line has kind of been playing, and then with the struggles the Packers have been having moving the ball. 2 batted balls down. I know Jalen Carter's a beast, but he batted 2 down. Maybe Jordan Love don't throw it to where he can just put his hand up. So just a lot to clean up. I'm looking forward to seeing this Packers team bounce back. Obviously, 5-3-1. Not where they want to be. Third place in the division, seventh place in the NFC. Anybody's race at this point. Obviously, the Lions look like they're starting to pick things up, but they also are 6-3, so they lost 3 games already. The Bears suck. They just keep getting lucky. The Bears still suck. I'm not worried about the Bears at all, and the Vikings I'm not too worried about. So Packers just need to regroup this week, beat these Giants. I'm thinking it's going to be 27-17. I'm not going to get too crazy with the score. I thought 38-10 against the Panthers, and that wasn't realistic. And then the Eagles game, I thought they'd score more points. I thought both teams would score more points. Packers really played good against that Philly offense, and the Packers defense played great. And the Eagles defense played good against the Packers offense, but the Packers offense sucked. So Packers defense played great. Packers offense sucked. Let's see if we can bounce back this week in New York City. Well, I think they play in New Jersey, but anyway, it's still New York. So, but go Pack, go! Let's get this W, 27-17. Then regroup for the 3 division games. We have the noon game against the Giants, and then obviously with the Monday night, it's kind of a short week going into this Sunday. Then we play early on Sunday, so definitely have to get ready for this game. Get ready to play another away game, even though we've been better on the road this year than we have been at home, which is sad because Lambeau Field used to be such a home field advantage. Now it doesn't seem like it is as much. It's hard for everybody to play there because I think of the aura of the place and the hype around it when you do play there. So just seems like the Packers don't have an advantage there, and other teams don't struggle there like they used to. So for the Packers, bounce back this week, get to 6-3-1. Hopefully there's some division losses from other teams and get back in the mix, get back to the winning ways. This Packers team is so talented. I would hate to see Matt LaFleur get fired unless that meant Halfley got elevated to head coach, because I am pro that. But I want to give LaFleur a little bit of time here, see what he can do, see what his answers to this test are, and if he passes, then the Packers will be right in the mix. And if he fails, then it might be an early exit for Green Bay if they keep playing like this, especially with how our division's been playing. So, all right, everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace out. Go Pack, go. Go Pack, go. Let's get this W. I'm still optimistic about this season, but losing to the Browns, losing to the Panthers, not ideal. Losing to the Eagles and tying the Cowboys, I can deal with. But when you lose those other games and then have a game like this where you could have won and you lose the way you do, it's just tough to see how they can really overcome teams like the Rams and the Seahawks, if they get to that point. So thanks again. Go Pack, go. Don't forget to like and subscribe.